Well, great to be here for one last talk about the 2016 season. The season that began very promising with an exemplary win over a Division II opponent. Got blown out of the water by playing two Pac-12 teams back-to-back on the road, and we felt like we had righted the ship against Sacramento State, only to get completely obliterated at Portland State. And from Portland State on, it was just gasping and grasping for opportunity. Portland State averaged 9.2 per rush against us, and it highlighted the fact that defensively we're not where we need to be. It also highlighted the fact that if you play tight man-to-man against us at wide receiver, we aren't going to be necessarily dynamic enough to get down the field and make plays, and so we made changes on offense to mirror what we needed to do, which was get bigger receivers on the outside, and I think it culminated with a great game last weekend by not only Kyle Williams in his last game as a senior wide receiver, but the emergence of Mitch Guller as the go-to guy on the outside for this program for years to come. So a season fraught with a tremendous amount of injuries, tremendous loss of illness and sickness that we had almost from the Portland State trip on. It seemed like we were missing between 10 and 12 guys a week in practice, as sick as we got. And I don't know if it's a flu shot deal or whatever, but the combination of concussions, dislocated shoulders, and illness is a head scratcher for us, because if you look at our depth chart, the guys that are in pink on our depth chart are guys who are injured and injured out of the program for long periods of time this season. So with that, I'm going to take a little break.
Sorry.
And wait for you to set up. I'm good. I'll just take a break.
Take two.
Take two? No problem.
Hey, it's on tape. You can redo it.
Exactly. Thank you. But while Julie's setting it up, you can see what was lost here. Rasheed Williams with a torn ACL out for the season. Drew Sharkey with a dislocated shoulder. Nico Taylor with a dislocated shoulder. John Peoples missed the first 3 games of the season because some off-field behavior issues. And then Chance Salutary is the only guy that started every game for us in the front. Then linebacker Joe Martin and Hayden started every game, but Luke Holloway never played a play almost the entire season. And of course, Mario Jenkins missed a couple games early because he was trying to come back from his ACL, and then he broke his hand in 2 places and chipped a bone in actually in the Montana game, and tried to play in the Eastern game when it was worn out. Nico Hayes was lost to a severe concussion at Eastern, and Jeremy Biddle missed half the season with a concussion. On offense, Scooby Reynolds lost his ACL on the 3rd day of practice. Vazorka had a concussion and missed 3 weeks. Phillips had a concussion and missed the whole season, allowed us to redshirt him. Cody Abbott has bone on bone in his knee and had a bad summer and really was ineffective whenever he got a chance to play. Chase Collins had his labrum torn in a pass drill where Abbott missed his block, and John Raheem Peoples hit Collins in the back, and it tore Collins' labrum. So Abbott was not only hurt himself, he hurt Collins. At tight end, Josh Cook started every game, and Kyle Williams started every game at Z receiver. Dallin Collins emerged from the fog of walk-on to being our starting center, and he played more plays this year, almost 1,048 plays is what he played as a center. What a great year. And of course, Brian Finney-Onganofo, coming off of ACL surgery in January of last year, made it back onto the field by the second week of October, and finished with a very, very solid year. Hagan Graves started every game, but when he was playing outside, he was ineffective. When he moved inside, as we saw again Saturday, what a smart move it is for us to move Hagan Graves inside. Tanner missed a game and a half, and during that game and a half, we fought pretty valiantly with Trey Pilster. At tailback, Ja'Cory Ford severely sprained his left ankle when he stepped on Brian Finney-Onganofo on the first play of the North Dakota game. And his backup, Ty Flanagan, injured his left ankle in a pileup in that same game. And then James Madison injured his same left ankle in the Montana game. And Lonell Woodhouse injured his left ankle in practice. Not right ankles. All severe. And you saw us hobble around a tailback on Saturday. So at tailback, we ended up having to play Mike a little bit at tailback, where after we moved him to slot, where he was playing with Hagan in some of our open sets, he had to come back to tailback. But Mike's not involved in pass pro, so he's not real good at that stuff, which is hence why we had to take our fullback, Austin Campbell and sliding tailback for a couple series and for a little bit of rep. So through the whole manipulation of our roster, thank God we had 99 guys play. It seemed like we played everybody all the time. It really impacted us in our defensive front, the loss of our best pass rusher, Rashid Williams, and it really impacted us in our offensive front with the loss of our very best offensive lineman, Skylar Phillips. Thank gosh, both guys returned. Rashid for 3 more seasons, and Skylar for 1 more season. He gets a chance to enhance his draftability, and he's an NFL caliber guy. But we returned Chase Collins, who's played a lot of games, and yet we've unearthed a couple of good tackles. Garrett Smith really had an outstanding year once he got into the starting lineup over the last 3 or 4 games. He's got to work on his conditioning. He got a little tired even on Saturday. And of course, the discovery of a great center in Dallin Collins is going to be something that's going to be in this program for a long time, along with fellow true freshman Jacob Molinar at left guard. Neither of those guys were slated to be starters, and both guys played very, very, very well throughout the season. Because our issue really here isn't offense. Our issue solely is defense, from top to bottom, inside, outside, pass rush, pass defense, fighting for the ball in the air, getting off blocks and stopping runs. Again, we are not defensively close. We were not in 14, and we're not closer now, even 2 years later. The issue for us is being more athletic in the front, being bigger in the front, and we finally addressed that, being more competitive in the back end, especially at cornerback, where we can challenge and play some man-to-man coverage. And then, of course, in the kicking game, we rose from the dead. I mean, from the ashes, as one of the most impotent groups that ever played in the Big Sky Conference, to become very, very salty. That we were led by a young sophomore, Andy Whittier, who just flew down the field on every single play. He had 31 stops, either fair catch forces or tackles and assists and forced fumbles. Just an outstanding year by a guy who was a walk-on on his way now to a scholarship. Sean Cheney punted pretty well. He had a rough game on Saturday. And, of course, Zach Johnson coming back from a torn ACL, one of the few kickers in the United States I've ever seen kicking with a full knee brace. Had a pretty nice year. I just think you can be a little bit better, particularly on kickoffs. We had a bloop kick called on Saturday, and he turned it into a short onside kick, and it gave us no chance to get the ball back after Weber State was able to generate some first downs. So Andy Burton shot a nice year as a long snapper, and I think he'll be good in years to come.
Will you kind of go over what each of the colors mean on this?
Yeah, color means they were hurt and lost for major portions of the season. Green means they started every single game. Yellow means that they were lost at some point during the season and fought their way back onto the lineup. And then the lighter numbers, or the lighter words, are guys who were redshirted.
And then you mentioned Chase and Skylar. It sounds like they're going to be back with medical hardship.
Yes. Well, Chase is back for his 5th year. He can't be redshirted. He's already been redshirted for development. Skylar played under the 13-quarter rule, so he's good to go. Because he's had 2 severe concussions, I will not let him be a participant in spring ball. Chase should be back and participating in spring ball. In our offensive line, we lose Thomas Vazorka as a starter, and Chase will probably slide right into the right guard spot for spring. And then in the fall, we'll take a long look at who the best 5 are, but right now, Garrett and Brian at offensive tackle, Molinar to be named at right guard, and Dallin Collins at center gives us a great offensive front headed into 217.
Anybody else besides Skylar Phillips are in another year because of medical stuff, or just him?
No, I think it's just him, because Scooby has already been redshirted for development, so he'll be a redshirt sophomore next year.
And Rashid the same thing?
And Rashid will get another year. He never participated at all this year, so obviously this is either his development redshirt or his medical redshirt, but it is his true medical redshirt. He hasn't taken a rep since he got injured, since he broke his foot in early camp. So, to be successful, what's got to happen? One, we got to quit playing these Pac-12 teams. Well, that's not going to happen. We're going to play 2 Mountain West teams back-to-back. That's already in the books. Okay, can't do anything about that. 2, we need to keep as many guys here in the summer, and we're going to be able to keep our 2 deep here this summer. A lot of people did a lot of things, but the president's office has said, hey, we can make sure we can keep our guys here this summer to go to school, which will help us academically, which will help us certainly in the weight room. Because 2 or 3 guys this summer didn't lift a weight all summer long. They got families, they were working, they didn't have an opportunity to work out with Christian Schumann, our strength coach. And now our top 50 will stay in Pocatello, and they will lift going to school full time beginning the 1st of June, which bodes very, 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 very well for us. That's a tremendous improvement in our situation, and one of the most desperately needed things is in this program. And then, lastly, you got to return an experienced quarterback. Guess what? Our guy's pretty experienced, but what's behind him is not good. And we looked at a long time at the guys who've played behind him, and we are not satisfied at all with where we are behind Tanner Guller at quarterback. And that'll be a good story this season, how we manpower our backup quarterback spot, because as we see, keeping your quarterback healthy is important, and having a quality backup like NAU had or like Montana had can help you win games, especially when going gets tough.
What do you want to? Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What do you want to see out of Tanner over the off season?
Well, I want to see him play the way he played in the very last play of the year. It's so ironic. The very last play was from a sophomore quarterback to a true freshman wide receiver running a play that he has finally mastered. It was great. It was just fabulous. It's such an exclamation point about his development as a quarterback. Yet during the game, even on Saturday, even after 10 of 11 starts this year, and even after starting 2 games last year, sometimes he lags in his decision making and goes away from the formula by which we're trying to teach him to be quarterback. So we returned Matt Troxel as our quarterback coach. The communication is the same, the teaching's the same, the learning's the same. He should play more proficiently than any quarterback we've had since Justin Arias, who, oh, by the way, enjoyed a great 4th year as a quarterback, which is what Tanner will be in our system.
Mike, to me, this is a big point where you say now that you've gotten the okay for your top 50 guys to stay this summer, go to school, be able to work and everything. How long did that take before you broached it originally to now that you got the okay? How long has this been in the works?
This has kind of been a fall, during the course of the fall, the president's office and everybody's kind of thinking, hey, well, what can we do to help our program, besides scheduling? Because scheduling just becomes something that's it's almost too hard to turn away from because it's such an aggregate amount of money.
Right.
You could make up some of that money by playing all those road games as home games, maybe. And we've got a core of fans here that's second to none in terms of their patience inside the program. Witness the 5,000 that came last Saturday to watch a 2-9 ball club close out the season. Yeah, it's not as much money as you make when you get on a plane and go play somebody for $500,000. Or if you can bus, like we will to Logan to play Utah State. As long as we're not scheduling ourselves into the Southeast Conference or into the Pac-12, then you got a realistic chance. Because the body blows that are being inflicted when you play those Power 5 teams, and BYU, man, it's the result lasts the whole season. Yet if you play a Mountain West team, but when you play 2 of them, now you're fighting summer school back to back. Well, now we've got summer school. And if we can use summer school to our advantage, then at least we're fighting a little bit more apples to apples.
You said Tanner Guller is going to be his 4th year just like Justin Arias was when he had that breakout season. Do you think Tanner can have that same breakout?
By far. I'm so excited. I wish we were playing tomorrow. Because he's just like Justin was. His numbers, if you look at his numbers and Justin's numbers, and Justin's redshirt junior year and Tanner's redshirt sophomore year, they look exactly the same. Exactly. To a man, the same. So it's not necessarily who coaches them, it's the message they receive and how they process it. It takes a while in all offenses to get going. Tanner, of course, was helped by 2 senior receivers, Josh Cook and Kyle Williams, are pretty darn good. Yet the future looks really good with Michael Dean, a freshman, Mitch Guller, a freshman, a couple young tight ends, Nate Page, Nate Schubert, and Jake Johnson, who are going to be really fine players. And, of course, Austin Campbell comes back as a fullback / tight end. So we got enough receivers to go around and be a dynamic offense because 4 out of 5 starters return on our offensive line, and that offensive line should be better than any offensive line we've had.
Playing the what-if, how good could this team have been if you didn't have the plethora of injuries that you did have?
I wouldn't say great because defensively we're not yet there. We don't have. Rashid had 5.5 sacks last year as a true freshman, and we need a guy to have double figures in sacks. We need to get more than 10 interceptions on a season. We need to ball hawk better. We need to play bigger and more physical outside of corner. Where this year we were manpowered by 2 true freshmen. And those 2 freshmen were 5 bodies away from being there last year at this time. But we had a recruit that we couldn't get in. We had a recruit we signed, he blew his ACL. We had a recruit that came in that never made it through the end of spring ball. We had another recruit come in way undersized, not be the kind of guy he thought he could be, and we had another recruit walk away and go to another player that was here transfer to a Division I school. That's 5 bodies at corner that are not here that were supposed to be in this program before those 2 guys had to play. So the evolution of us at corner is probably the thing I would be most interested in looking at if I was a fan. How good are we at corner? How good are we at scheduling? And how good are we at quarterback?
Mike, what are are there an area or areas that you're looking at from the recruiting standpoint this season?
Yeah, right inside the door, here on our campus. We're going to reward 9 guys currently not on scholarship with scholarships inside this program. 9. Which means as a coaching staff, we're going out the door looking for 4 guys. We're looking for a quarterback. We're looking for an offensive tackle. On defense, we're looking for a corner and a safety. That's it. 4 dudes? Come on, I sound like Bill Evans talking about men's basketball recruiting. Really? I've got 9 coaches and we're recruiting 4 guys. We should do a pretty good job. And the other thing we're looking for is a linebacker. And we've made an offer. The only guy, we have 3 offers out right now. And we also need 1 linebacker, and we feel pretty good about where we're at in our linebacker recruiting.
So after you award scholarships to these 9 walk-ons, you'll have 4 left.
5 left.
5 left.
5 left. One is already ticketed for a linebacker. And I'll just leave it at that.
Are you able to say who those 9 guys are, or do you want to?
Oh, God, yeah, I can just about tell you right now. On the defensive line, Braden Beckman, defensive end, is a walk-on that's going to get a scholarship. At linebacker, we plan on giving a scholarship to Kenan Smith, who's a walk-on out of Fruitland High School, who just had an outstanding summer or fall camp. Alvin Delvey, a cornerback from Florida, who's a walk-on corner, just really going to be an outstanding player. Kobe Lowe's a transfer corner in this program from Division II school in the South. On offense, we've taken one of our young quarterbacks and we're moving him to safety, Alex Espinoza. He goes on a contract. And then Louis Tucker McGee is a wide receiver who's been moved to defense and playing the secondary now because we're trying to manpower our secondary quite a bit. He will also be on contract, so it's right in that area. I know I'm missing some guys right now, but those are guys that are already in the program, doing well academically, doing great socially, doing great in the weight room, and going to be as good a football player as this team can go out and recruit. Excuse me, and probably the most important one would be fullback Austin Campbell. And I think he deserves a contract, and the last one would be that guy, Andy Whittier, who's developing not only a cult following, but he's become a legend for us to watch. When we go out to punt, it's our whole team stands up to watch him cover, and he's just a great player. We always say, hey, we beat him at kick teams because we got Andy.
Is there anything that you would have done differently other than the injuries or the scheduling or stuff that's out of your hands? I mean, anything that you would have done differently this year?
Yeah, defensively, we needed to be more basic. We changed our defense after the Southern Utah game quite a bit. And we'll stay with what we're doing now defensively. It fits us, fits me a lot better. We made a severe change. It might not be noticeable to fans, and it certainly is not noticeable in numbers, but I'm a lot more confident and competent and believe in what we're doing in our system defensively since I went back over to that side of the ball.
And that wasn't the only, you changed it kind of earlier in the season after the Portland State game, I think. You kind of simplified things, and then so this is the second change after Southern Utah was a different adjustment.
Well, the answer to that question is, after we played Portland State, I thought we had made changes. And then we played Southern Utah, and those changes had not been affected, so that's why I'm on defense.
So those changes that you mentioned after Portland State and after Southern Utah, are they kind of one and the same? Are you able to say what they are?
No, not until we get going. No, not until we get going. It's just we simplified things with a young defensive front. We played better gap responsibility. The changes we made in those last 3 games, I think, stood by themselves. We led Montana, we led Eastern, and we led Weber. And those are 3 pretty good football teams. And so I'm pretty proud of us defensively, how we have risen from the ashes. Because that Portland State game and the Southern Utah game to us were Armageddon here. That's uncounted. If I'd have been a fan in the Southern Utah game, I'd have gone out of here going, I'm looking for a new coach. I don't care what the problem is. That Southern Utah game is not representative of what I want in my football coach. And I hope that I have regained the trust of all the people who would say that through these last 3 ball games, because we have battled and we have been competitive and we've been emotional and we've been invested and we've body languaged an opportunity for ourselves. Again, Saturday against a playoff-bound Weber State team. I mean, the fake punt, the fake punt against an overloaded defense was a good call by their staff, and it was a mistake by me. And we responded and came back and got to back within range, and then we fumbled, and then we scored, and then we go to kick off the ball. And we're not onside kicking. It was not an onside kick call. We're blooping the ball into an open area down the field, and our kicker mishit the ball and flew it right to their guy. Come on now. We have got to have a better performance quotient from everybody on our team, including our head coach, and all of our other guys, especially all those guys that are the kickers. Because our kickers and punters are one-trick ponies. They do one thing. They don't block and tackle, but they got to do that one thing a little bit better. And we rose. But we got to get to here. That's where we got to get kicker and punter too.
Mike, you talked, you briefly mentioned about body language and some of the intangibles in your team down the stretch. Are you in a better place now mentally, the way you finished this season, compared to the way you finished last season? Has there been progress?
Are you asking that as a personal question or as a team question?
Team question.
Team question. Yeah, because now we're experienced. Last year at this time, we were going to have a good team, but we were desperately inexperienced. A lot of guys that were going to play for us, the question were going to be huge question marks. I mean, I'd never even met Alan Collins yet. And then he comes into our program and becomes a starting center and just plays great all season long. Got outmanned a couple times. He's a freshman, but what a great gift. And I'd never heard of Austin Campbell last year at this time. And he came into this program as a backup tight end and starting fullback and a guy who could play some running back and keep the pressure off our quarterback. I mean, we played against Weber State. Weber State had 33 sacks coming into the game, and we gave up none. That's a testimony to how good our offensive line has played under a new offensive line coach. So I'm real proud of our offensive staff, what we've done in terms of development. We didn't play as well on the outside as we thought we were going to play. Of course, last year at this time, I didn't know Brock Malcolm was going to be ineligible. And we didn't know that Chris Scooby Reynolds was going to blow his ACL the 3rd of August. And we were going to have to figure and I didn't know Mitch Guller still wasn't going to be a pro baseball player. So between now and the start of next season, what stories are going to happen that are going to impact us in our plan? So a December plan at our level can go flying out the window pretty dang fast, as time marches by. Because the other thing that happened to us is we lost a transfer corner, and I never knew the guy was leaving until after Christmas. On transfers, guys that transfer here and transfer up and out, good luck to them. Some of them have good careers, and a lot of them disappear into the night. And we've had a lot of guys transfer out of this program. When you're 2-9, you're going to have guys that have happy feet. Their parents are telling them every day, you're a better player than that program is. The guys that stay are the guys that get a chance to play and become the team we had in 214. And the guys that leave, some of them go have great careers, and a lot of them, they drift out and they drift away, and their opportunity is now lost. So I'm always concerned about the guys that are committed to us, the guys who are plugged in and want to be Bengals, because the one thing we are is we're as academic as any program in this conference and in the United States. We are socially responsible as anybody could ever expect us to be. In terms of my phone ringing and Pocatello PD knocking on my door, I mean, we're not the Cougars. We're not Washington State. So, you got to think as a university and as a community, what do you want your football team to be? You want us to be academic, socially responsible, you want us to be competitive, you want us to practice well, travel well, and respond to coaching great. And keep your face off the scoreboard. Because that's the last, and that will come in time. But there's some things outside the program you're not going to surmount. Just not. You're just not going to be able to surmount playing 2 Pac-12s back-to-back. That's impossible.
Has anyone told you that they want to transfer?
No, that always comes as a surprise. They never want to tell me about it. How would you like to go to me and say, Coach Kramer, I'm leaving? How would you like to have that conversation? What do you think my response would be? After I didn't leap over the desk and choke you.
That's why we're scared of coming.
Every single dude on our 2 deep here, on our depth chart, I have a plan for in our program. Every single guy is important to us. Every single guy. And there's a plan and a place for them to play. I mean, Andy Whittier's not going to start for us at corner. Yet I'd buy a season ticket next year to watch that guy play every home game I could. Because, God, is he a great player. But that's just an example. Every single guy. Ask me about any single guy in here, and I'll give you a response to when I think they're going to play and how soon they're going to be able to play.
You talked about after Southern Utah that fans could be like, we need a new head coach.
Yes,
It's been 6
I
years.
did. No, I don't know if the fans did, but I sure did. I looked in the mirror and went, man, that sucks.
6 years, 1 winning season, 2 seasons back to back, 2-9. Why shouldn't fans trust you're the guy for the job?
Well, because we've also played 12 monsters. And every time you play one, you put your program in danger. When you play 2, you almost shred it. You know, our second year we played Washington and Nebraska. What's that going to do to a program that can't get off its feet? It shreds you. It shreds you. It shreds you like a paper shredder. You cannot run your program based on that. You can't succeed in the scoreboard doing stuff like that. You're not going to. We've proven it. Yet, we've done everything else in this program that needs to be done, which is we're academic, we're responsible, our APR is fine, we're recruiting to the limits that the university has imposed upon us, which exceed the limits placed upon every other student at the university, which exceed NCAA requirements. And you know what? Because we've graduated 126 guys, maybe those standards are needed. Maybe they're needed. And maybe they should stay exactly the way they are. The positiveness about this program is that while we were rebuilding the core of the guts of this program, our recruiting still was going to lag way behind, because when you continue to lose, you don't get the top flight kids to say, yeah, we're going to grow up and be a Bengal. That just doesn't happen. So we've been able to manufacture good players inside this program, and a lot of them are really young, especially in our offensive line. We started 3 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and backed them up with 3 freshmen and 2 sophomores.
How do you get past that though? Because like those Pac-12 teams are not going away.
Again, that's above my pay grade. I just have to do the best job I can knowing what we're facing whenever we play those guys. I just have to know what the impact is, and I do, and I realize that. This year, after we got done playing at Oregon State, I knew we were in desperate trouble. We were trying, but we were sick, and we were hurt, and we muscled up against Sac State. But the next week, when we got on the bus on Thursday to go to Portland, we were a team in trouble, and we played like it. On the first play of the game, Portland's running back went 58 yards against us.
How do other schools get past? They're playing Pac-12 schools.
Who's playing 2?
I don't know if they're playing 2, but
Right, who's playing 2 back-to-back?
so the 2 back-to-back is the big problem.
2 is bad. Who else is playing 2? How many teams in this conference play 2 Division I FBS teams? That's the research you guys need to look at, and you need to look at it not through my 6 years, but look what it did to John in his career and his guys. So look what it did to Larry and his guys. We keep playing. You keep playing because those teams are so far above you in terms of resources now, and it's gotten worse every single year. The distance from them to us is extraordinary. Yet the 2 top teams in our playoffs beat a Big 12 team or a Pac-12 team, the other one beat a Big 10 team. But those 2 programs are a long ways ahead of everybody else in this conference. You won't find Sam Houston playing those teams. You don't find, and they got a first-round seed. You don't find North Dakota playing those teams. You don't find Montana or Montana State playing those teams. Why? They don't need to. Even Eastern Washington doesn't play 2 of them. So those teams that have done it years and years and years and years and years in a row, you take a look at their overall record and the culmination of what's done to their program, and it rocks you. It knocks you out.
I know the schedule's set for a few years
Yep.
now, but can you guys ever get away from that?
Well, if we're creative, we can. You know, it's just a matter of being creative. It's a matter of thinking outside the box and finding ways to, bring in, one thing, if I'm a season ticket holder at Idaho State and it's an 11-game season, I only get to buy 5 tickets. I only get to see us play 5 times. And in fact, this season was super long. It seemed like we never played at home. We played one game at home and then 3 on the road before we came home again. And then we played 2 at home, and one of those was competitive, but we were so sick, we didn't even notice it. And the next one was a wipeout, and then we went right back on the road for 2 out of the last 3 on the road, at Eastern and at Montana. So by and large, all of this is a lot of talk. We can be better if we play better on defense. Offensively, we're pretty good. We just have to be better on defense. And this year, why weren't we better on offense at the same pace we were in 14? What did we have in 14 that we haven't had since? The same band in the front. When you start playing those freshmen in your offensive line, that's a bad sign. I think you all recognize that. When we played our offensive line in 214, fourth-year senior, fourth-year starter. Third-year junior, third-year starter. Third-year center, third-year starter. Two-year starter at right guard, and a four-year starter at right tackle. You could do a lot of nice things that way.
I know it's December, the season just ended Saturday. Perfect if this team stays healthy next year. What are we looking at? What kind of team is this?
A very good and competitive football team. You know, our home opener is against a very good Division II team who actually won a game against the Big Sky Conference this year. And then we go to Nevada and to Utah State. That's not the same as going to Oregon State and Colorado, who, oh, by the way, is going to play for the Pac-12 championship. And then we play Cal Poly here without Joe Prothro and a new quarterback. Thank God Prothro graduates. But Cal Poly is extremely good, and they're going to be good in the playoffs, and they run an offense that we've got to start preparing for right now. And the week after that, we play Montana. And we haven't played well against Montana since the 80s. Right? I mean, we've had a couple competitive games, and we were competitive this year with them up there. And our most competitive game against them was lost here on an errant snap 2 years ago. So can we win that game? Yeah. Can we lose that game? Yeah. Should it be fun? Yeah. Is it worth the price of the ticket? Come on. Yeah. I just love the fact, experienced quarterback, better scheduling, a returning offensive line, and a defense that must get better in the offseason, led by a head coach that has a pretty good idea about what has to be done.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Babysitting. Babysitting. We had two baby boys born in April and May, and both parents are like you guys, working all the time, and so they're all exhausted with their babies. Well, guess what? I got lots of energy. I want to come and get them all.
Put a football in their hands, right?
I don't really care.
They're going to start watching game tape.
We got a 4-year-old granddaughter. She says, "Oh, it's great. Thanksgiving. Mike's coming home for me." Hey, but thanks you guys for a great season. Anything.